Throughout history, many figures have shaped the world and impacted our lives, but none quite like coal. InFo&x brings you the story of the Industrial Revolution. Before the 18th century, everything was handmade, including farming, food, and everyday goods, like clothes, weapons, tools, and furniture. To move and sell these goods, merchants used ships, animals, or humans. Cities were small, and most people lived in villages. There were also plenty of wars, diseases, and hunger. That's why people died at the ripe old age of 35, which kept population from growing much. This is known as a demographic trap. Still, European countries had the upper hand. Why? Because they were colonized and they were having a great time. Especially this one. In England, new methods and tools were designed to speed up the farming process. This was known as the Agricultural Revolution. Now, more food could be produced at a faster rate and with fewer workers. This was a good thing, because now everyone could eat more and frequently, leading to fewer people starving to death. Also, vaccines were created, leading to fewer people dying from diseases. This way, the population grew from 6 to 8 million. Now, there were more people, but not enough work. That's why farmers were now unemployed. This led to a liberation of labor. What are we gonna do now? Look, a newfound interest in the cotton industry. England had a flourishing cotton industry that received cotton from its former colony, the United States, which also had a flourishing slave cotton industry. So, in England, everyone started producing handmade goods from cotton, such as thread, clothes, and fabrics, right from their homes. In the 1700s, people produced goods in their homes through the domestic workshop system. Merchants supplied the materials to the workers and then sold the finished products. This was the putting out system, and it was kind of like the early version of remote work. But the process of producing thread and fabric by hand was slow and definitely not fun. So, in 1764, a guy named James Hargreaves invented the spinning jenny. And then, in 1787, another guy named Edmund Cartwright came up with the power loom. The new machines made thread and fabric production way faster, but definitely not fun. These inventions transformed the textile industry, and that's how the Industrial Revolution began. In England, people got excited about inventing new machines, because in England, there were laws that protected people's ideas with patents. A patent is a document that gives you exclusive rights to your invention. No one else can use it, unless they ask for your permission and pay for it. Thanks to this legal protection, engineers and inventors started inventing. Then, one day, in 1769, a man named James Watt came up with a game-changing machine, the steam engine, which was actually just a better version of the Newcomen engine, originally created in 1712 by Thomas Newcomen. This was the invention that transformed the Industrial Revolution, making it possible to manufacture goods on an industrial scale, and the industrial production was born. And to make all this happen, they required tons of coal. For what? To heat up the water. Turns out, England had tons of coal. And that's how coal mining started, making coal the main energy source. With all this new technology, merchants canceled remote work and put workers and machines together in one place to keep them working non-stop. And that's how factories started. Now, goods production was faster and cheaper, so the prices of those goods dropped. And suddenly, more people could buy more goodies. If you're enjoying our content, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with everyone. It really motivates us to keep working for you. Yo, the market is growing. Yeah, we're gonna be rich. Yeah, let's open more factories. So more factories were opened for all sorts of products all over England. But in order to sell all these products, they had to transport them faster, faster, faster. Hey, this is not working. That's why in 1825, the steam railway was invented. And it transformed the Industrial Revolution even more. It's an iron demon. Our eyes are gonna pop out from the speed. Panic in the streets. The government wants to introduce mechanical demons that travel at the crazy speed of 10 miles per hour. Over the next 5 years, more railways were built, getting faster and faster. They could now also transport postal mail and people who started moving to the cities to find work in the factories. This led to an industrial economy and the rise of new social classes. The industrial middle class, they owned the means of production, which included the factories, the machines, and the worker, and the industrial working class, also known as the proletariat. These were the workers who worked in the factories with the machines. Their lifestyles were completely different. The middle class kept getting wealthier by making more money from selling more products to more people in more places, while the workers kept working. And this work was tough because in these factories, men, women, and children spent their days covered in dust and during harsh conditions. The working shifts will be 14 hours long, from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Talking or whistling during working hours is strictly forbidden. Everyone must be working at all times. Weekly wages will be 15 shillings for men, 7 shillings for women, and 3 shillings for children. Can we take breaks? For what? To take a break. Fine. 30 minutes. A day. That's it. The rapid growth of industry brought tons of smoke and major environmental problems, since factories were polluting the air and water. Cities expanded rapidly, without control, leading to poor living conditions. Even though workers spent all day working, their wages were barely enough, and they lived in deep poverty. These and other social issues became known as the social question. That's why workers organized the first unions and started protesting for a better life, better working conditions. Meanwhile, some intellectuals and thinkers started developing very particular ideas, such as socialism, communism, and anarchism, introduced by these guys. So, the British government passed the Factory Acts. And, good news, kids no longer had to work 14-hour shifts, just 9. And it didn't matter because the revolution wasn't gonna stop. By the end of the 18th century, England was leading the Industrial Revolution. So, in the early 19th century, other European countries were like, looks like exploiting workers. Factory work is a very profitable business. And just like that, Belgium was the second country to join the Industrial Revolution, followed by Germany, the Netherlands, France, and Switzerland. Pretty soon, Europe was packed with factories, producing goodies and building railroads everywhere you'd go. Except Spain. Spain was in the middle of a civil war. Despite their new competitors, England remained the boss of the industrial business, producing and selling their products everywhere. So, they decided to keep their tech breakthroughs a secret. No machines, no designs, and no workers are leaving this country. Well, time to head out, said a guy named Samuel Slater. I said no one leaves, said England again, and didn't let him go. So Samuel put on some farmer's clothing and took off to the United States in 1789. So, what was the first thing he did? Everything England told him not to. He opened a factory with machines. And that's how the Industrial Revolution got to the United States. Now, in England, he's known as Samuel the Trader, and in the US, he's known as Samuel, the father of the American Industrial Revolution. Then, in 1807, this guy invented the steamboat. So now they could go faster on water too. And with that, the US took its business global to Japan. The Japanese were shook, so they built their own steamboats. And that's how the Industrial Revolution got to Japan. This was the first Industrial Revolution from 1760 to 1840. Then, in 1850, breaking news, there's a new demonic invention that's terrorizing our homes. This one explodes. They are calling it electricity. While the world was dark and full of terror, people like Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison experimented with electric light until it became the go-to energy source for illuminating the world. And that's how the Second Industrial Revolution started, from 1850 to 1914. During this time, the world saw major innovations. The steel industry skyrocketed with Andrew Carnegie, the man of steel. The oil industry boomed, making John D. Rockefeller insanely rich. And oil became the go-to energy source to power machines and the hottest new invention, the automobile, built by Carl Benz, who named it after his daughter, and now there's the Mercedes-Benz. This era also gave us the telephone, Coca-Cola, the radio, the light bulb, the cash register, the airplane, the bicycle, dynamite, and of course, the World War I. And that's how we went from handmade goods to mass production, with awful working conditions and underpaid people, fueling cities with tech innovation and propelling global warming. Thanks to all these, there's linoleum for everyone.